actually helping us, because you didn't have to do that, and we are actually very, very grateful. And we're very grateful to somebody called Keith Austin, who handled our case from about January 2013 to about September 2013. He treated us well, he treated us with empathy, he treated us with respect, he investigated the different options. We want to say thank you. Also, though, do want to say that anybody that we spoke to on the phone, and we did spend days on the phone between June 2012 and December 2012, didn't treat us very well. They talked to us with a complete lack of respect, a complete lack of empathy, and not any sort of awareness of what the banks could actually offer to help us, even when we were trying to present evidence to them. That wasn't fine. Investigated it a little bit, and from what I understand, you did waiver a little bit of your bonus in 2011, and you did also make statements about how you wanted to see the bank become a more customer-centred bank. So thank you for that. That is actually a big step, and that's why we think you're worth throwing out this challenge to, not to target you in a negative way or disrespect you, but just to say, what about this? But I honestly don't believe a customer-centred bank would have treated us how you treated us. I believe a customer-centred bank that felt accountable to the people would feel that they couldn't launch these major changes until they'd researched the impact. They knew the sofa was possible. They wrote a letter to people, said that this would offset the impact, and had that all worked out. I don't believe they would go at it saying, okay, our computer systems are clunky, we need to maximise profit, we don't have time to be efficient, we're just going to have to get the letters out to these people and then deal with their issues as they come up. I don't believe that in a customer-centred bank you would have been able to do that. I also have to think that we do have to look at what banks actually are. You're handling whole countries and more's wages and everything they've spent their lives, their working days building up as a means of exchange. You're handling that. Now, seeing people queuing outside Northern Rock because they're scared that's going to go down the last few years, experiencing that everything, let's be honest, I took over a decade to build up under threat the last 15 months, and feeling that really has had an impact and brought it home, reality home to me. Before I was actually writing about the banking system in terms of creatively, but the reality of it hadn't come home in the sort of way it had recently. And
a friend of mine,
as an example, but he's somebody that came from a working class background, trained very hard as a GP, worked very long hours because of the way the health service was structured, did actually manage to save, unlike me, and now then was scared. He has a heart attack, he's had several heart attacks, lots of heart problems. He's now scared and wakes up in the night worrying that the banking system is going to collapse, and asking questions like, who have I actually worked for then? How does this work? And I honestly don't believe that him or the rest of the country, it's fair on us for you to be handling these things in this way. I think any institution that's holding the exchange value of what we've worked for, we should be actively participating in it and defining what it does. I don't believe democracy just means a tokenistic vote. I think it means a variety of ways of participating in a variety of forums where you're able to express a variety of opinions, like in terms of what do we think about the arms trade. We're able to explore it together, we're able to discuss it. I think that's how that needs to now change. I believe that corporations and banks are not inevitable, but we've been culturally trained into thinking that they are. They've only been around in their current form the last 150 years, and the first ever corporation, the South Sea Company, was banned for 100 years because of the negative knock-on impact it had before these current structures started eroding limited liability and eroding all these things until we have the fundamental distortions that we have today. And I honestly and profoundly believe that to be wrong, and I believe it, if it's going to survive, it needs to go on a metamorphosis. So we want to ask, thank you for saying customer-centred bank, but could you take it a step forward for open it out to your actual 41% shareholders and actually facilitate some sort of metamorphosis or model something in your bank? Could you do that meaningfully? That's the challenge we want to throw out. We're not intending to disrespect you. We wouldn't usually make a video like this for two reasons. We would usually talk more about structures and how you're legally obliged to make a profit for your shareholders. It's not your personal fault. But when we were told by the ombudsman that their system does not recognise collective suffering as a collective entity, because it was a collective bank account, I felt that that wasn't fair, and that I felt the need then to respond not just in a systematic way but in a human way to a human person, and your name's on the letter. So that's what you've ended up with. Usually we also wouldn't do this because we'd usually exhaust all other possibilities first, but we honestly don't believe that if the Ombudsman comes back with slightly more or even slightly less after our resubmission, that we're going to be happy, because we believe that we're owed more compensation, because our entire work plans were disrupted for 15 months. It was distressing. They wrote to the Payments Council, they wrote to several think tanks, they wrote to about 5 NGOs, they presented the evidence to the bank, one letter Bank of Scotland, one letter Halifax. It was a problem, and it really disrupted a group already under financial pressure for 15 whole months. Many meetings happened when they needed to be discussing their survival. After the charity finance group provided them with evidence and case studies of specific detail of how that had been possible to other groups, eventually they did agree. So the compensation offered by the financial ombudsman is only a tenth of what the group believed they spent on their time. Now, to adequately readdress this, it would only be a really small amount. For the bank, it would be like nothing. They wouldn't even notice it, even if their director just paid a little bit of their bonus on this, on helping the charity to be all right. It would be nothing. I was actually writing a poetic play about the banking system, opening up dialogue about what people think should happen next. Couldn't make any progress with that. People doing funding applications in our office couldn't make progress. Leave that to be fair. We need more compensation, and please open up your bank. Please treat us graciously. We intend no disrespect. Please do treat us graciously though, because we honestly believe we have looked at other forums, and legally you would buy a very expensive lawyer and we might have to pay their legal fees at the end of it. So we honestly felt that there was nothing left other than DIY justice. So please be gracious with us. Okay, and just to say finally, we know that you've been off with stress. You're holding a lot of responsibility, and in a weird way, all these monies and exchanges are just created fiction, and you're actually worth more than your bonus, and you shouldn't put yourself through all this stress. I've also been very, very stressed in terms of just keeping a charity running for a decade and push myself to the limit as a result of how hard that is to survive in London. And so everything that's in that bank account is all our sacrifice of choosing to be sensible at points and do sustainability rather than just do the exciting things we want to do. So you are actually worth more than your bonus. Let people in to help. Let the public participate. You might find it's a relief. You might not find it's a stress. You might actually find it a fulfilling experience. Who knows? okay, finally the donkey workers appeal. The way that I experienced this is that for about 7 to 10 years, I was very eager to do some creative things that I wanted to do with my time, as well as the technical demands of supporting a charity. All the time I was trying to fit it in alongside the other things and only making gradual progress with it. And then about 6 months before this happened, I was putting a lot more time and effort into that, and it was really going somewhere. And this came in as like a train and entirely derailed what I was working on. And also what happened, it was like a family being put under massive pressure that was already under pressure by this. So all the group that support and serve the network already put in a tremendous amount of energy, but those people not able to contribute to the bank situation. I sacrificed all my creative projects to be able to do it when not everybody would or could because they had families and other things. I found it actually very hard to be in a room with them. To that extent, it put a family of relationships that are usually very strong and very mutually understanding under that level of pressure. And I really need support, because I don't know if Antonio is going to listen to this, if he's going to actually dig deep. But if you're hearing this message, could you just be aware that as a donkey worker that supports and serves not just Speak, but initiatives in the wider extended family like Music Speaks and seeks to catalyse and initiate in a way that is about serving. I try, don't always succeed. I really, and the others really do need support to be able to get out of what we feel is a hole of manure, gradually step out of it and get onto dry land again. If you would consider supporting me, because I'm not quite sure if Antonio's going to have the ears to hear, would you please consider support? Some more information's about to come.